You ever think about quitting?
It's the combat of life hammering the snot out of you.
Well, stand by, dig in deep, and get ready to get fired up with us.
Welcome to the Team Never Quit podcast, the #1 podcast that inspires you to fight on. I'm your host, David Rutherford, here with Mr. Never Quit himself, Marcus Luttrell.
Our mission is to help you embrace the suck of life, to teach you the values of working your ass off, and to interview the most hard-charging people on planet Earth.
We know life is hard. It's time for you to suck it up, Buttercup, and let us teach you to persevere in every environment imaginable by sharing real-world lessons learned by those who never quit. That's right. It's time, Marcus, for us to help them defeat the negative insurgency in their lives.
You fire me up. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's roll.
Let's roll. Marcus, brother, are you ready for this one?
I've been waiting.
Tell me why.
Because when we started doing this, and you're like, hey, who should we get? Remember we were talking about all that, and I was like, man, I'll tell you, it'd be great if we could get this one.
I mean, because it is so close to us. Again, yes, not.
That's the good part about it, though. I mean, it's hit so close to home, but how far she's taken her life and what she's accomplished. It's kind of when they're like, hey, is it okay if can you check and see if we can get some time penciled in?
Yeah, exactly. Right? And hey, would you please come share your amazing Never Quit story with our listeners? And what's remarkable is she pulled away time, and with everything that she's doing and the incredible successes that she's having and the influence.
Melly was reading off the list of stuff that she. Remember when we were going through that?
Yeah. I mean, you talk about it, right? The foundation.
Busy lady.
You talk about the children's books. You talk about, one of my favorite, the new statue that just was released. You talk about, Fox News. I mean, this is really powerful, and for us to be able to get it on, man, really blessed. Yeah. And she's part of Team Never Quit.
Right.
I mean, go. I mean, that right there is awesome for me.
Out changing the world.
All right. Enough. And everybody, you're listening right now, and you're going, all right, who is Marcus and Rut talking about? Now, obviously, you read the title of the show, but it's more fun to talk about it like this, right? Like right. You don't know. And if this is your first time listening to the Team Never Quit podcast, you have to understand that Marcus and I, it's been our dream, our mission in life now, to help you understand how to face adversity, overcome obstacles, and teach yourself the never quit mindset. And it's our mission to help you by bringing on amazing people onto the show to share their greatest never quit stories, how they learned it, who influenced them, and more than that, just how to teach you where you can take away from these things and change your life today, Marcus. That's what can happen today, can't it?
Everyone thinks it's so hard. We're about to show you that it's not.
It is simple. I mean, this isn't rocket medicine. Certainly you're not a rocket scientist.
Not in this chair.
Not.
That wasn't. When you're applying for a job and then the resume goes in and everything.
Oh, I love it. Certainly not in this chair. All right, well. So again, if this is your first time, thanks for tuning in. We're real proud that you're here. If you want to know more about us, please visit the website at teamneverquit.com/podcast. And you can find all about us, why we do it, all the other shows that are on there. If you want to become a subscriber, subscribe to our newsletter, subscribe to the download, or if you just want to listen to us on iTunes, man, go to your smartphone, go to your iTunes app, search Team Never Quit Podcast, subscribe, and have us on demand so you can have Marcus and I ringing in your head on a regular basis.
That should be the disclaimer.
That should be the disclaimer.
It comes with one, right? When it's downloading, when the downloading thing is spinning, that thing pops up at the bottom.
Prepare to have two crazy frogmen banging around inside your skull for the next hour and 20 minutes.
You have to listen to something to get it out of there.
A deprogramming mechanism. Right, yeah. Well, anyways, a lot of in the previous shows, what we had done, we to get things started and warmed up, also to back up. When you go to teamneverquit.com, check out our merchandise. We've got great t-shirts. You can show that you want to be a part of the team as well. We've got great other paraphernalia. You can buy ammunition. You can buy Marcus's books. You can hire one of our great speakers that we have on the Speakers Bureau. We've got a whole plethora of things for you to keep you inspired and keep you driving down in life and moving forward 1 inch at a time.
That was a big word, dude.
Which one?
Plethora.
You know
where that comes from? You do, don't you? I saw a grin on your face.
Three
right?
of me. Yeah. Marcus, would you? Marcus,
it just sticks in there,
Marcus,
right?
Would you say that we have a plethora of guests?
I so very rarely get a chance to use that word in a sentence, and the fact that you just did fired me up because I'm just excited to be here to be a part of that.
Well, I am a virtual plethora of ideas.
Yeah, and verbiage. You know where I started picking mine up was at 18 Delta when we started studying the Greek and everything. Yeah, man. And then everything else just starts sticking in there.
My old man was an attorney, so you can imagine when my pop would talk to me, I'd pick up one out of every 16 words growing up.
Sure.
And so as I moved forward and came out of the knuckle dragger phase just about 6 months ago,
right.
I realized
when we started this.
When we started this, that I would have to try and use the thesaurus a little bit more in my life. All right. Well, normally what we do to get things going, to get things rolling, is we start with a historical story, a historical moment, but we're going to shift it up because we don't want to be the same old ball and gang.
Maybe because we can't remember.
Probably.
No, whatever. We couldn't find it.
We couldn't find it. All right, but this is a good one.
So, shotgun this truth right out there to you.
So the wizard came up, and we want to give a big shout out to the wizard, and thank you for all that you do for us. We appreciate
he's back behind the curtain.
Always behind the curtain. Well, this time he's literally behind the curtain. Yeah, nice. It took me a little while. So what he did is he prepared these great things for us to do, and it's called this was it a metaphor?
Play on words, right? That's right.
I'll go with that. I like that. So what this skit or shtick or whatever is called, What You Gonna Do? So now Marcus has never heard this. I've never read it to him. He has no idea what's coming at him. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna ask him this hypothetical situation where he has to dream up a plethora of ideas in order for him to solve this problem. All right? We're going to test his cognitive acuity, all right? I'm on a roll now, bud. None of it makes any sense, but I'm on a roll. All right, Marcus, are you prepared for what you gonna do?
Yeah.
All right, stand by. Stranded alone on a desert island, and one day while watching the sublime sunset, a gust of wind blows your favorite Don't Mess with Texas hat off your head into the Blue Lagoon. Since the lagoon has crystal clear water, you can see it settle all the way to the 15-foot bottom sand, which should make it easy to retrieve. However, unfortunately for you, the beautiful lagoon and its crystal calm warm water is full of man-eating sharks that want to rip your face off, which you also see in the crystal clarity. You know the tide won't pull your beloved hat out to sea for the next 3 hours, but you must hurry. The good news is, apart from you, sharks, sand and palm trees and coconuts, the island has a fully stocked Home Depot. You simply must retrieve your beloved hat and avoid becoming lunch. So what you gonna do?
Good Lord, man, that one's deep. Because before the Home Depot, now that the Home Depot's in play, it's on, right?
Well, go ahead. Start firing questions. Yeah. Let me hear what you're going to do.
Because you also know that I'm scared to death of sharks.
That's why he put it in there.
Who is it? Sometime in our recent past, I've talked about that, obviously.
Oh, on a regular, reoccurring basis.
Comes out, the fear.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really matter. Here's the deal: is that the whole time we were in the SEAL teams and I was underwater, I knew that they were that, but I never saw them. So that's how I mind tricked myself out of
Well, that's I tell bless your heart, because I couldn't have done 10 hours in an SDV ever.
All right, I know, but 15 feet's no big deal, and I know that they have in the back of Home Depot because I am a regular Home Depot.
And this by no way stretch of the measure is a commercial for Home Depot.
Yeah.
But if you are a senior executive at Home Depot, please call us in. We'd love to have you sponsor the show.
I could go as far as if I only had a few hours, then I can't get into the whole turning the washing machine into an SDV through the, because my brother and I did that when we were kids. Long story altogether. We almost died. Anyhow.
All right, tell me, what you gonna do? How you gonna get that hat, bud?
Yeah, well, they have PVC pipe, and then the hook retrieval system, the door hooks and frame hooks and all that stuff like that. Then duct tape runs relatively.
I'm seeing it right now.
Yeah,
I'm seeing it.
And then tape the hook to the end of the 15-foot PVC pipe, reach down through the sharks, and pull my hat back out.
So now we're assuming that you're in proximity enough to where you can assemble to have decent control of the PVC.
Oh, 15. You said 15 feet.
It's 15 feet deep, but not 15 feet from you.
Right. Well, the flex on the PVC going down into the Blue Lagoon, right, goes down the side in the hat with the water in the lagoon in the shape of the bowl and everything like that. It just settles down to the one side. So you just crevice the side, hook the hat, and then drag it back up the side using the side of the wall and the hook for pressure. Pull the hat up.
That's pretty easy, man. Damn.
See, the problem is I was redneck, so you got to think outside the redneck realm. If you're gonna stump me, you know what I'm talking about? I mean,
well, I'll tell you what. Next show, you're gonna give me one he wrote. I haven't seen it, and we'll make sure to say, hey, make sure they're hard. All right?
Well, okay, yeah, and I'll write one up too.
Yeah, done. That's what we'll do. We'll create them for each other, man. All right. So if you heard what you're gonna do and you liked this segment, you thought it was all right, although because of his incredible redneck capability, as combined with his intestinal fortitude not to be eaten, he was able to solve that problem rapidly. All right. Well, we're super fired up that you're here, and again, we like to have a lot of fun. But on a serious note, one of the things that we really strive to do is to help you understand that life is hard and it's not going to get any easier, right? There are moments of brilliance and sunshine and the new dawn of the new day. But I'll tell you what, every day is a struggle. And every day you're going to be blindsided with things that happen that are out of your control. And what we want you to know is that, hey, we care about you. And that's why Marcus and I are trying to do this show. And that's what we have all the faith in the world, and that God has given us these silly microphones for a reason, that we're going to inspire you that you too possess the never quit attitude. So we want to get ready to welcome, our guest who's coming on. And we talked a little bit about it. So, if you're not familiar, and I know Marcus, hopefully you can talk just a little bit to preface her coming on, is one of the greatest human beings in our community's history is a guy by the name of Chris Kyle. And I had the incredible fortune to know him when he was just a young frogman going through SQT and as his instructor. And, although he was quiet and I don't think he had really become the legend yet, he was an example of a guy that just got it done day in and day out. After our time, you got to think of, when we're in that, you don't think about it like that. No. Obviously, until you get out, and then you look back on it, and then you look back at the guys like Hathcock from Vietnam, and so forth and so on. And then after the Americas, long from now, when they talk of the American military, and then they'll talk to Chris Kyle, just like they did Hathcock. The next war, hell, the generation coming after us, they'll refer to Chris. And, he did such a good job that Hollywood put him in the movies already. The #1 R-rated movie in history. I bet he would find that funny. You knew him well. What do you think he would think all the hoopla? You get a chuckle out of that. You know what I'm talking about? Because the same thing happened to me. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about? And the way I think about it, and just be blessed to have it, and then just making a big deal out of, something that we did. That's kind of, it's something, man. It's something to think about. What I always like and what I always find, and I've told you this over and over, these are circumstances that you guys, you don't imagine that happening in your life. What you imagine is that you're going to roger up in these difficult situations and you're going to be there for your teammates, which as frogmen, that's what we do.
Right.
And if
you got to appreciate Chris on that. I mean, because that's the reason I never got married.
Yeah.
I was married to the boys. I mean, that love that we have for each other, and that was so strong with him. But the love of a woman, I didn't have that, and that's good on him for getting out.
Well,
teams have been there before us. And here's my favorite part: when you get out, you're like, man, I SEAL teams everything to me. And then as soon as they take your ID and you can't get back in the gate, the next hour,
the next 5 minutes.
What's that? Hey, thanks. Here's your paddle. Quack.
I don't know you.
Yeah, exactly. and that's the hardest part to get over, right? And then after a while, when you've been out past your term, then
I think
the younger guys are coming up. Then
I think you brought up a good point, man. I mean, with a 95, when I was in with 95% divorce, or not, it was 90, and then it's shot up to 95 during wartime.
Yeah, yeah.
And I know like 3 dudes and their wives that stay together the whole time. Amazing human beings. Well, Chris is one of those guys, and I had no concept of what that meant or the stress that it must have been on the spouse until I got married.
Well, look at us. So we were the single guys. So what did we do to the married guys?
Crush them.
Right?
Crush. Oh, you don't need to go home.
What?
You wuss. Don't go home.
We sure help things.
And she got your in her handbag, and But I learned about.
I'm so glad I waited.
Well, I
wouldn't have made it.
Well, think about this. Now you're on the road 50, 60 times a year with speaking. And when I got married, the first thing that happened after the economy collapsed, I started contracting, started deploying again for 4 years and put my poor wife through it, and had no concept of the impact it was having and how it affected her. So, one of the things I really hope, if you're a listener out there and you've been a military spouse, or you're the spouse of a first responder, or you're the spouse of a person that's constantly gone, this show is for you, all right? This show is for you to realize the strength.
Or if you lose somebody.
Or if you lose somebody. Great point. Great point. That this show is for you, and I hope that you'll hear the strength, because the woman that was blessed to be married to Chris is unique in so many ways. She's so amazing, and we're just so privileged to have Taya. Come on, let's get her on, huh, Marcus?
Yep.
Marcus, I got to tell you, buddy. I got to tell you, man.
Hear it.
One of our own is coming on, man.
Hear it.
One of our own is coming on, and I'm starting to feel that tingle inside me. I'm starting to feel that.
I know when you're fired up because you sound like a wrestler.
I do. Like I'm ready to, like Jimmy the Superfly Snuka, ready to come off the top belt.
Can you smell? But run. It's cooking.
Can you smell? But like, here's the deal on this one, though. I want to make sure.
By the way, that's a shout out to my boy Dwayne. We love you.
Here's the deal on this one. I want to make sure, and I haven't done this before, but this person is so important to us, so important to Team Never Quit, so important to what it is.
Well, she's on the team.
Well, that's what I'm saying,
yeah.
And I want to make sure. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read an introduction that she deserves, because it's so powerful. She's such a powerful woman. She's so amazing. She's touched so many people. So here, let me just read this before we bring her on, all right? Since the tragic loss of her Navy SEAL husband, Chris Kyle, Taya has continued to forge Chris's legacy through the formation of the Chris Kyle Frog Foundation. The Chris Kyle Frog Foundation is based on Kyle's values of God, country, and family. The foundation is unique in its work to strengthen military and first responder marriages, so the family unit not only survives, but thrives while they serve. Taya Kyle is a mother, a New York Times best-selling author of American Wife, Fox News contributor, and advocate for military families and American women, and a public speaker taking her philosophy of the ripple effect to millions of people across the United States. So Marcus, it is my incredible honor to welcome Taya. Taya, welcome to the Team Never Quit podcast.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
Well, I tell you what, it's pretty awesome that you're on.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Hey, I couldn't stay away from you guys if I tried.
We do have that gravitational pull on people.
She has power. Her and Mel are good buddies, so like she has that like her and Mel just
the boss radar.
Right, yeah. And when you were talking about her, I was like, man, I was thinking about Melly in my head, saying, kind of the same premise, man. I was like, here we go. It's gonna be good because she'll jerk a knot in her ass if we start.
I love it. Well, Taya, one of the great ways we like to get warmed up, and you know, we what we want to do is we want to warm up that brain of yours, that big, beautiful brain of yours. We want to get you fired up. We want to get you thinking. So what we do on the T&Q podcast is we offer this thing called the Mad Minute. And the Mad Minute is we're just going to pop these random questions at you so you can just fire back for effect and just warm up your brain for us getting into the powerful stuff that's coming next. Are you up for that? Are you ready for it?
I'll always take a brain warm up.
Too bad that Marcus and I often have challenges warming up our brain.
Right.
Oh, are you kidding me? I'm on I might as well have an IV drip of caffeine to get through every day. So
I love it. That's awesome. It's funny. Marcus says the only time he ever consumes massive quantities of coffee is when I show up to do the podcast.
Sure.
Here. I love it. All right.
Seriously, yeah, you got to keep up.
All right, here we go. First question is, where did you grow up?
Oregon.
Favorite superhero?
Wonder Woman, hands down.
Have you seen the new
the
show
new
yet?
thing with the new
No,
super-
okay, so I do need to see that show, but can I just tell you, and you guys will appreciate this because you're around the same age as when I was little and underoos were the big thing, and I loved Wonder Woman so much that I put on my tank top Wonder Woman thing and rode my bicycle with my girlfriend, and it's kind of like I had the gold cuff, you know, dodging bullets, and I got in so much trouble for wearing my underwear outside.
Do you wear it now?
If they made it, I mean, can T&Q make some of that? Because I would wear that all day long.
That's a good idea.
Underoos, yeah. big
Underwood
fan.
for adults, and I know
Huge.
you'd wear a Spider-Man one, Marcus. I think we got a market there.
There's a suit in there, right?
But
Actually, I have
he already has it. He
I have
actually wears it
multiple suits
around
now.
all
Yeah.
day long.
Oh, for Christmas, everyone has to wear onesies, and mine's the Spider-Man. Dude, it's excellent. For Christmas, I get to be Spider-Man.
All right. Next question is, what is the world's best vacation destination in your mind?
Okay, well, I could say two things. One is I could say anything Melanie Luttrell plans, because she's like the travel master. And my favorite place I've been is with the Luttrells in Belize, and I didn't even think I was a beach person until we went there. It was extraordinary, and I don't know if it's just because of the place that she found or if it was the people that we were with, because we were with, some good friends. And I think I only spent
awesome.
2 days down there, and it was the best. It was truly amazing.
All right, good answer.
All right.
Awesome. Next one is, give us one bucket list item for you.
One bucket list item. Yeah, there are so many things that I want to accomplish in this life. I think one of them is that I've wanted to publish a novel, a fiction, and a children's book, and I'm on my way with the children's book. So that's probably my bucket list right now.
That's awesome.
That's a goal.
Yeah,
I mean, we know you'll do that one.
Yeah.
That's
You're
coming.
gonna knock that off for sure.
That was weak.
I was hoping she was gonna
That
say,
was
"I want to
weak.
beat Felix Baumgartler's
Yeah. All right,
free fall record from space."
Right. All right. So here's what's going to happen now. You got to climb. When Morgan and I turn 50, we have to climb Everest. That was it. I don't want to get into it. But anyhow, we're going to drag you up there now.
Yeah, that's what I like to hear.
She'll go up there with us.
Well, proud. All right. That was totally weak. All right, I'm going to think about my bucket list more. Because you're right, that's a goal. Although I don't take it for granted that I'll achieve it. Maybe that's I need to take it off the bucket list and put it on I will do list. But
Now you're talking. Listen, you're a pretty amazing lady. So when you said something like Marcus and I just kind of looked at each other, that's already happening.
No.
That's a big.
See, anybody else interviewing have been like, "Oh, that's great." I know she's going to do it.
She's so bad that she's going to crush. She's already crushing
Check this out. Hey, Taya, for the Mad Minute, my questions when I first, because you're such a strong, I was like, I'd been thinking about this. I was like, so favorite laundry detergent. Good.
Yeah, nice.
Favorite vacuum cleaner. That's a good one too. Are you a guiding light or a Days of Our Lives woman?
Oh, you were going to be all offensive.
Yeah. I was going to see how many of those questions I could rattle out at you before you what the fuck are you doing here?
What brand of bonbons do I like
Yeah,
while I'm sitting on the couch?
Oh man, that would be hilarious.
He every now and then he gets that little wild spur up.
I mean, if I would
going.
have the week I had, I would have dropped that one on you.
All right. Here's the last question for you in the Mad Minute, because obviously you figured out that our Mad Minute goes on for like 10 minutes. But here's the last question for you. If you could pick any decade to live in any time period, what would that be and when?
All right, I think this is going to be a weak answer too, but I think if I could pick any decade, it would probably be the decade before this one, but only if I could have the wisdom that I have now to go back and relive it. And it would only be because my kids would be little and Chris would be here, and hopefully I could do it with some of the lessons that I've learned since he died. If I could have those and redo it, I'd be a happy person. But as far as time in history, I don't want to do without the luxuries that we have today. Is that shallow?
No, it's awesome. It's awesome. I think that was one of the
greatest
best,
part about it.
That's one of the best answers I've heard, because she put it in context to say, hey, man, if I could go back just recently and apply how much life means to me and her faith and how much is developed in that circumstance, I think that's beautiful.
Well,
that's
it's amazing. People, I mean, the more technology, the simpler life is made every day. Just normal stuff that everyone has, running water, and they still people can complain about anything, but sometimes it's baffling. And to hear that come out of her, like, hey, I mean, I want to go back a little bit just to get my husband back, that kind of deal, because everything else is great. So.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. Well, Taya, thank you so much for doing a Mad Minute. That was fun. We always like to have a good time. Is your brain firing on all cylinders now?
Yeah, I think it is. I think I'm ready. Except for that bucket list. You know it's going to eat away at me in the back of my mind. Why don't I have a bucket list? And then I'll get off the phone with you, and I'll come up with a list of like 100, so I'm never in the position not to have a bucket list item again.
Well, here's what we'll do. Here's what we do. You can always call back in the next time we're recording, just as a special guest caller. Drop your awesome bucket list and then hang up and say, I'm out.
Hey, we ought to have a studio line, and then since she's a Fox News contributor, she could be in T&Q contributor. Right. So if we're ever doing something, call into the bat line, the bat phone, and we'll. But you plug her in. What do you got, Taya? Well, I'm out here, and you need to do that.
I love it, dude.
You can see my perfectionist nature coming in. I'm like, wait a minute, there was a question I didn't do well. It's like my answers could have been anything, but I'm going to obsess on that one that wasn't. It was weak. It was weak.
Well, here's what happens. Almost everybody gets on and says something. They're like, well, can I?
That's why it's a Mad Minute.
Yeah, it's a Mad Minute. And
if you have time to think about it.
Yeah, it's a great, you did awesome. All right.
And us picking on you, that's just part of it. Nobody else, we've never backed up on anybody except for you.
So what I want now is, and what everybody is coming to this show in particular is to get to the meat and potatoes, is to so you can share with our listeners and the people out there that admire you and admire your life and really want to hear from you. Go ahead and share what's your greatest never quit story or stories for us.
All right, yeah, when I was thinking a lot about it, and there were so many minutes in my life that were so pivotal as far as making me who I am today. And I think emotional for me, because most of them come back to Chris and the influence that he had in my life and how just life with him changed me. And certainly his death changed me even more. But I think I'm only okay because of my life with him. I certainly had an amazing foundation with my parents, and I give them all the credit in the world, especially for showing me what a strong marriage can be. And they never shied away from letting me know that if you're going to stay married for 50 years, that you got to expect some hard days, some hard months. But I think importantly, my mom also told me there might be some hard years, babe. And this was before I was married. It was before I met Chris. And I remember thinking about that. And I think that's so true, because people aren't just naturally made, magical stardust and romance, and this is your soulmate and it will always be great. I mean, it's going to take some grit and some effort sometimes. And seeing my parents and their friends do that, I think, it prepared me. But
right.
I had friends, and one of them in particular, and there was a time where, man, I wasn't sure if we were going to make it, and Chris wasn't sure either. And I had a friend who had kind of gone through hell with this love of her life that they really were just a match made in heaven, it seemed like. But, life screwed them up too, and he had some hard blows, and he had some trauma, and he didn't handle it well. And I remember then when my rough time came, this is a woman who, she sat on the phone with me, if it was midnight, if it was 2 a.m, if it was middle of the day. And she's a busy person. I mean, she runs her own medical practice, and she had kids and sports and all these other things going on. And she gave me the time, and she went through that fight with me. And I trusted her and I listened to her. And I feel like things like that, I know that was a pivotal moment. She got me through, and Chris and I, cared enough to go through it and come out the other side. But I just had situations in the last year where, somebody else is going through a hard time, and I kind of same thing, right? I had kids, I had work, I had travel, I had, still dealing with grief and normal everyday stuff where, stuff goes wrong in the house. And I wanted to give that to that person. And I knew it was exhausting. I knew it stressed me out. I knew it broke my heart to go through it with her. But if it took a month to go through it to save that marriage, then that was my pay it forward. And that was, it always reminds me that there's a reason why you go through hell. And I think sometimes you go through it so you can turn around and help somebody else and be that person. But
awesome.
It's kind of along with, right? It's what you guys are doing with your show, with the Team Never Quit podcast. It's saying, somebody else is going to need the encouragement that I needed to get through. And I heard some of your past podcasts too, where you talk about grit and will and determination and how you can be born with that. And I think that's definitely true. I mean, I thought about things in my life growing up, how, one of the things I was thinking about this morning was just when I was thinking about will and how you guys talk about that and how you kind of can be born with a certain toughness. And I remember my parents, were pretty strict, and I get grounded, and they'd look at me and they'd say, "You're grounded for a week." And my heart would break and I'd be scared, but I'd look at them with steel eyes and be like, "Okay." And they'd say, "All right, yeah, I was not an easy child to raise, I'm sure." They'd say, "Well, then it's 2 weeks." I'm like, "Fine." Inside, I'm dying, right? But I was like, "You will not hurt me. You will not see me, break." And I was stubborn. And it went up to a freaking month one time. And these are parents that stuck to their guns and stayed true. And I was wondering, is that show like a stubborn streak that hopefully I've tailored into something positive today, or was that just being a bratty kid? I'm not sure. It might have just been, being a bratty kid and hating authority or something like that. But
a bunch of psychologists have proven that kids that have that kind of defiance early on, if they're still shepherded and got good faith and good character, that will turn and eventually become an attribute as it has in your life, right? Yeah.
That's it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. When it's in a kid though, and they have the mentality of that, that's kind of an adult thing stuck into a younger
brain.
Brain, right.
Yep.
So it's.
Yeah, I think it is. I think that's one of the things I would say is sometimes the hardest kids to raise have the potential to be some of our strongest leaders and strongest adults. And I fight with that because I don't, my kids are super respectful and I don't tolerate much, but I also don't want to break their spirit. That spirit, like you said,
Absolutely.
a little bit of defiance. But I also think we lack in this, not to get off subject, but we do lack a society where people respect authority. And my parents, to their credit, they didn't, it's not like they gave in. And I think that's the difference. They didn't break my spirit. They stuck to it, and they showed me I was tough enough to, endure those things. But to be brutally honest too, even before I met Chris, there were times where I don't know that I showed that kind of strength and will. I mean, I didn't quit. I had a job that I was totally depressed in. I hated showing up. And I wouldn't say it was like, well, I hated it, but I got out of bed every morning and just showed up. I didn't. Man, some days I didn't freaking show up to work, but I didn't quit the job. But, I was in sales and I could make it up another day or whatever. And that was a dangerous, dangerous situation. So it's not like I have this will that just I was born with and I won't quit. I think it's, I got to be motivated and
well, it's the situations that you get dropped into that pick that away. So since you had that in there, just what she was saying, the defiant part, maybe it's not really defiance. It's just a never kind of quit mindset.
Totally.
Still in there. And then as you get older, like right now, I like to say, if you allow yourself to get into any kind of situation, it actually proves to be a positive thing.
It sets you up. Right. It sets you up for the next stage, right?
And if you get hit again and you've been in that situation before, you're like, well, I know I can get out of it.
And I go back to hearing you right now, Taya, saying here you are in this, kind of place and time in your life, prior to meeting Chris, where it's like, man, what is the meaning of my life? And why am I not passionate? Why isn't that will and determination that my wonderful parents bestowed on me and gave me, why isn't that coming out? Well, what happened in that moment? What shifted you around to start to change then?
Well, I can promise you this, that the biggest change in my life was the love I had for Chris. And I mean, there was no way I could have imagined a guy like him. No way. I remember praying that God would send me someone nice. That was my prayer. Nice,
Nice.
And I remember one of the most romantic, and Chris really was, that's a whole other.
No, he wasn't.
other story, but you know, but yeah, you would say that, and then you would say, well, wait a minute, what about the guy that he opened the door for and they didn't say thank you, and he turned around and threw the door in his face? You know, okay, so maybe in some situations he wouldn't be seen as quote unquote nice.
Well, that's just manners.
Me,
That's kind of the way these texts were raised like that. That's a manner deal. It's you jump past into a disrespectful when someone's openly trying to do something nice for you, and then if you have the abilities that he had, sure.
Yeah, no, it's very, very much so. But you know, that there's a thing here, and I know for a fact because I've seen it with you, Marcus, and Melanie, and that is that you can be all kinds of things to all different kinds of people, but there's something that happens when somebody has your heart. And Chris is different with me, right? And I was different with him, but you know, I wouldn't give up on him even when I was mad at him. And you know, I thought, dang it, you know, I'd watch him walk away, and I'd see his gait. I think it was sounding like a cowboy gait. I remember vividly looking outside an upstairs window one time, thinking I was so mad at him, and I watched him walk across the street to the neighbor's house, and I was like, oh God, he's hot. I look at really this guy, like
awesome.
Yeah, I'm like, you know what? He like, you know, he had my heart, and I was like, damn it, you know what I mean? Like, I know I'm still. It was, and it's not just looks. What I'm saying is, like, there's something about somebody that you're so attracted to that you can't imagine being without them. And to this day, that's what. If there's a fight that involves Chris, I'm showing up, and I don't care. You know, there's sometimes it bugs me so much when people seem to have this attitude of, well, they're gone, so it doesn't matter. I'll tell you what, till the day I freaking die, he matters. And if it involves him and somebody's messing with him or his memory or something that isn't right, I'm gonna fight that fight. That doesn't go away. And I think you all know that. You have buddies that pass, and you're not. I mean, there's just something that changed in me with him. And I can tell you the hardest moments I've also had are those moments where it was time to walk away from something. And I couldn't stand the thought of having to lay down. You know, mostly there was a court case, not the one probably you're thinking of, but there was another one, and we ended up settling. And man, I thought these guys were wrong, and I felt like they could have gone to prison for a long time. I mean, I'm talking serious wrong. And
right.
and I could have stayed in the fight, and it was costing me more money than I could have imagined, and the stress and trying to raise my kids and fight the good fight and be everything to everyone. And I ended up, you know, saying, all right, I want, like the lawyer had to remind me, look, of the things that you said you wanted, you got them.
Wow.
I was like, yeah, but stuff changed in the fight because they went lower and they went, you know, more off course. And now I want more. I want more blood. You know what I mean? Because they deserve it. They earned it. And
they started
I found out more. Right? Yeah. And it was like, I got what I originally came to get, but I didn't know how bad it was and how much they went off. So I'm still going, like, we got to do this. And it was an important time, I think, for me because I had to kind of lay down the sword and say, okay, I got what I came for and I got to walk away. But to this day, sometimes it bothers me. And to this day, I question it. Like, should I have?
Yeah, don't look at it like you laid down your sword. You just put it back in the sheath. I mean, because some of those situations, especially in today's, and that mentality, that's that warrior mentality.
For sure.
I mean, you hit them till they're gone, right? That kind of deal. So them starting that, and you know that's the mentality she has because of that eating feeling.
Oh, that just grinds
for days,
on you.
man. You're like, you know what, it's not that you got one over on me.
It's the never quit mindset, right?
You know, the fight's not over. And when it comes to when you hear people talk about guys like, oh, I wouldn't expect him to be all romantic with his wife. Look, everyone has those, for the most part, has all those characteristics that everybody else has. So if you see somebody who is hard charging in the boardroom or as a Navy SEAL, you can bet they're going to be the same way with the wife. And
well, this is the interesting point that you're bringing up. And
good, because I was running out.
You're spot on.
I had no idea how I was going to close that out.
No, you're spot on, and I love this. And this goes back to Taya, what you said. When you fell in love with Chris, and this is something that I believe is one of the greatest phenomena that we possess, and it's a blessing from God every single time that we acknowledge it and nurture it, but it's the power of love from a strong point, not from a weakness, not from a place of submission or anything like that, but from a place of strength. And that's what I'm hearing in you. That love was ignited for this man.
Yeah, it's not a submission thing. It's a teaming up. I just found something that's so powerful that I can't wait. When I met Melanie, I mean, the women in our lives set us on our paths. They see things that
we don't see.
We don't see.
And they balance us. They
Right,
bring
exactly.
that balance.
So, I mean, once that happens, all I do is say, what's my job for today?
Yeah. So Taya, tell our listeners because a lot of people out there haven't truly felt that love, or if they're in the hole and they're not experiencing it, how do they find it? Where do they go? What does it feel like? What does the power of that love truly feel like?
Okay, so I'm going to give you, there's a couple of things I'm going to say on this. And on the one hand, I can tell you, like I said, that there was a time, all I wanted to do was be independent and not need a man. That is the God's honest truth. I was so excited to get out of my parents' home and make a living and forge my own way. And then kind of life broke me down pretty good. And I was in a bit of a depression when I met Chris, but I had prayed. I said, God, I think I hear you. Like, I'm not supposed to be alone. I'm not meant to do this alone. So, I boiled it down to what I wanted. I just wanted somebody pure of heart. I just wanted somebody nice. And it was within weeks that I met Chris, and it was, it's a comedy almost in itself that I met him in a bar, and he was a sniper, but not at the time. He had just graduated Buzz, and, all this stuff. But there was something in our interaction that just was powerful and magnetic, and it wasn't right away. It's not like it was, love at first sight. This is the guy I'm going to spend the rest of my life with. I just know I was drawn to him. And the reason I clarify that is because I think we have to remember a few things. One is that God is always there, and we do need to listen. And sometimes when you're broken down the most, it's a message. God is talking to you and telling you something that you need to hear. That was my message, and that I went to God and prayed and said, okay, I humble myself to you. I submit to you because I don't even know where to go to find this. I didn't even know that I wanted it. And then he sent it to me, but I had to be open to seeing it. It wasn't, it built. Our relationship built like anybody else's does. We talked on the phone, for a while before we spent a lot of time together. And it was, slowly but surely I realized, oh my gosh, this was the answer to my prayer. I didn't necessarily know it the second that he showed up. I just thought I thought he was hot and he was fun and it would be fun for a while, until God answered my prayer. And then, as time went on, I realized, oh my God, this is it. And I think that importantly, there are times I remember, trying to express to Chris, I don't know if you can, I wish I could say it in words. I wish I could put it into words how much I feel for you. After we were together for a while, after we were married, and I just felt like there's no way I can express how full my heart is now. I would do anything, for you. And I give credit to him because he was different and he was kind and he was romantic, but he was just true to who he was, and he was unabashed. If we, had an argument or something, he would come to me and fix it or want to fix it, and he would humble himself in a way that for a tough guy, maybe you wouldn't always expect that level of humility or vulnerability that he gave me. But importantly, I want to say this, all of that and the love that I feel today and the love that I felt then, I want people to remember that there are times, right? There are times where I'm sure he could not stand me. And I know there were times where I thought, what am I even doing with you? Who are you?
This is insane, right?
That's the reality. Yeah, that's the reality. And I think a lot of that was because we had a mountain of trouble with war and combat and deployments or leaving for training. And yes, like everybody else, that's why I'm passionate about helping people get through that.
Who he was and how hard we were going in the paint, man. And that's why Morgan and I never got married while we were in.
Right.
That focus and drive, what we were talking about earlier, so he's so hardcore in the teams, but he's at home too. He loves his wall. Once you go into combat, all that gets sucked into one thing.
Yeah.
Right? That drive and determination gets sucked in. You can't even, none of that, and all that other stuff becomes white noise, which is tough when you have somebody who cares about him as much as you did, not getting anything back. Even as hard as he would try, man, there is a wall up that does not come down. Especially if you stay on the line, man. That decompression time
it doesn't go down.
It doesn't happen while we're in. It just doesn't. I don't care if you're even at a training pipeline.
Go ahead, Taya.
That's so true. Well, no, I was just going to say, I definitely didn't want to cut Mark's off because what you're saying is so important. And that's one of the things that I know for a fact is when somebody dies, the regret is the hardest thing because you can't go back and fix it. And all you can do is believe that they're on the other side and that they can hear you when you say, shit, I'm so sorry. I have no idea. I have no idea how wrong I was. But, if I knew then, Marcus, what I know now, if I knew, because I didn't know, now I've been traumatized in my own way. And it's nothing like the things that he had to go through. And I know now how hard it is to focus and drive through that and push on for the people you love. And I now I have so much more respect. But at the time, I had no idea what all that must have been. I mean, I tried. I'm empathetic. I felt like I was forgiving and I was kind. I felt like I was loving.
Look, none of that's on you. That's the hardest part is you don't go through the training with them. And what basically happens, because being married, but when we were all together, I would see it. Man, you just get talked to like a teammate.
Totally.
But a teammate who's not going over. I mean, whether you want to try and think about it or not, it comes down to it. And I don't know if you ever said this, but like, I was listening to one buddy one time. He told me, he goes, man, I go, how was your weekend? You saw the wife for the first time? He's like, I got home. And we got our butts just handed to us before he goes, came home. And she goes, what have you been doing? Camping with the boys all week? Yeah. Just a jovial joke, man. But that's kind of, he got upset. Oh. And that's the part. You have to be a wife for a while
to know
what's going down there.
Well, I tell you what, when I did the same thing, Taya. I never got married in the teams. I got out. Fast forward, after the collapse, I went back to contracting, and I was contracting for the government at this time. And I was married, and I started deploying, and I would come back and do exactly what Marcus would do. I would try and use the references of where I just was to, assimilate with this woman who loved me, but I was a different man than the guy that she had fallen in love with. And I progressively got worse and worse with each deployment. So the question I have for you is, even though you didn't have the reference point there, what kept you in the fight? Taya, what kept you staying there after Chris just kept going and going and going? What kept you there?
Yeah, that is a really great question, and I can tell you clearly, because I remember as clear as day a lot of those moments where I was low as low can be. I mean, there were times where I felt hopeless and helpless, and I know that he felt the same way for different reasons, and that's the challenge of these marriages. But it was two things. One is that it was God. I felt like I'm not playing around. If I make a promise to God, I mean it. And my vows were a promise to God. And I did not take that lightly. I didn't take that as there's an exit here. I mean, I remember, screaming at Chris one time, like, divorce is not an option, like it, right. I just, and he was in an environment where, 95% of the guys were getting divorced. So I'm sure in his mind, he's like, really? Because I see that as kind of an option, and, but, right, that's the reality of what they see. But to me, that was one thing that I felt like, you don't make a promise like that and turn back without dire consequences. And the other thing was, once we had kids too, my parents led by example. They stayed married through good and bad, everything. And I could never imagine breaking up my family for my kids' sake. And I know that there are a lot of people who get divorced, and yes, the kids turn out fine and all that. But I think part of the beauty of staying together is that, your kids are statistically much more likely to get divorced if you get divorced.
Right.
And I think that I could see that so clearly, because if you reverse that and say statistically, I'm much more likely to stay married because my parents stayed married. I understand that, because they were my inspiration and my proof that, man, sometimes I saw the look in my mom's eye. I mean, she did not like my dad sometimes. I can guarantee you, she looked at him. But then I also knew they went on dates. They dressed up, they put on cologne, they got a babysitter, and they loved each other through it. And so for me, I got to see the reality of, look, you might have a minute where you look at that person and think, you're driving me, insane, or who are you, or what are you doing? But the fact is that love can be stronger than that. Your dedication can be stronger than that. Yep. And you can do it for your kids so they don't have to find, 4 different places to go to on Christmas or Thanksgiving. And I had this vision in my mind always. When I would think about however it was in the moment, I had this vision of Chris and I sitting in a house. I could picture the living room that was always my mental image, with a Christmas tree, old, on the couch, smiling at each other, looking at our grandkids play together and our kids. And I thought, that's it, right? It's the long game. It's not some of this, crap in the middle that's challenging us. And Chris could have walked out. He could have walked out. He said the reason that we made it is because we both didn't give up at the same time.
Yep.
And maybe that's true. Yeah. It always bothered me, because I thought, I didn't give up. But you know what? I'm sure in I'm sure in his mind he saw me as giving up sometimes, and I'm sure that is how I appeared, that I was giving up, just like sometimes he appeared to me to be giving up. But I'm super passionate about marriage because I feel like it can be your biggest gift, and I know what it's like to lose it, and I know the beauty of it, and I know the regrets, and I can look back and say what was worth it. I know that I was thinking about this the other day. I was talking to somebody, and I usually use the word like our marriage was marinated somehow, but I'll take it a little bit further. I think, well, actually, that's a good analogy. You think of a really great piece of steak, and you buy it at the store. It's going to be a great piece of meat. That's like our marriage when we were fresh and new and in love, and it was a good connection. And then you think, well, if you marinate it, what is that? It's breaking down the tissue. It's breaking down the tissue in the steak, and it's making it more tender, and it's giving some seasoning to it, and it's giving all these different layers of flavor. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that is what happened to our marriage, and that's one of the greatest gifts I think I got, is that, our last year of marriage was great. When he first got out of the teams, it was hell for a year at least, and I'm impressed that he was able to get in and out of that transition within a year, because I think some people never make it fully through that. And
it took me 10 years.
Yeah, so you know it well. I mean, it is hard, and he didn't quit trying to find things that would help, and I didn't quit trying to find things that would help, and he came through it. And I think that I always look back and I thank God for the time, because our last month, I remember telling a friend of mine I said, I know this is going to sound so strange, and I didn't think she was she didn't believe in some strange essences and auras as much as I do, or feelings that come true and all that. And I said, I started to cry. I said, I'm terrified something bad's about to happen to one of us, because it's too good. And it felt like somebody really wrapped a warm blanket around us. And I was like, man, I don't care what all we went through. We were made for each other. Like, it doesn't get any better than this. And it was because it was marinated, man. It had flavor. It had been broken down and stronger for it. And it's like, I feel like the beauty of our life is that when you look back, I can say at some point, and I'm an old lady, I'll look back and say it was a short period of my life, but it was the most important, and we lived probably 10 lifetimes within those years that we had together, because we knew each other at our absolute lowest. We knew each other when, one of us was going through a time where we weren't sure we wanted to live. We both had those periods. We had the times where we were elated, the times where we welcomed the kid into the world, and when we looked at each other and said, I forgive you. We had times where it was like we laughed our asses off, and nobody would get that sense of humor but us, because we lived it together. And we had those times where, whatever it is you struggle with, like, man, I got to get in shape. Yeah, me too. And you know what? Sure, let's just go get some chips and cheese and sit in bed and watch TV and binge watch till we're exhausted the next day. And, it's all of those things that you live with a person, and you see them in every, it runs the gamut of everything. And I feel like sometimes we shy away from that. We are human, we're vulnerable. We want to shy away from letting somebody see us in all those different elements. But really, if you're strong enough to stand by somebody's side when they're going through it, and it might be years, if they're strong enough to see you through it, if you love them through it, if you allow yourself to be imperfect, you allow the other person to be imperfect. I mean, we ask so much of our spouses these days that they're supposed to be our soulmate, they're supposed to be our best friend, they're supposed to be our biggest supporter, all this stuff. Sometimes I think we forget, man, they're human too. They're just as jacked up as the rest of us, and sometimes it's a matter of just deciding, I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere, and we'll figure it out, and I will humble myself before you. I will be vulnerable, and I will admit I'm just as jacked up as you sometimes, and I'm not gonna expect you to be more than you can be right now. And to me, you come out of that with a passion and a love and a connection that you cannot get anywhere else. And
the bond.
It is.
It's the bond.
It really is, and it's something.
Well, it's just like the bond we had with each other is forged in adversity. That's why we're so good at what we do, man.
We talk about it all the time.
And when it came time to
that mutual respect through watching your teammate get crushed and suffer, and you're suffering with him. And one day he's good, the next day the other guy's good.
You find that cross to bear. Everybody has one, and then when it may not be the other dude's, but he'll be there with you to get you through it, because he's going to find his.
Absolutely.
And I remember when we were coming back from deployments, it's almost to the factor where it would go down like this. So, and Chris, perfect example. So we'd get back from deployment, and he's still wired up. And I tell people, I'm like, hey, look, man, as soon as he gets back from deployment, if he can have a day to unwind because he's dragging that with him. So if you get a chance to clear the head, which we don't have that, right? They just kind of send you home. So you send him home to the wife in deployment mode.
Dude, I got back from my deployment to Afghanistan. All the wives were there outside the team. They all went home. I went down to the bar in IB and drank till the morning, and then that was my welcome home, man. There was nothing back then.
Some of the guys, I think, when they come home and they get in arguments, and Taya, you can attest to this, if it's like Chris would leave just so he wouldn't make you angry while he was home. And it doesn't work. It thinks that's the rationale in the head. Like, man, when I'm home, I'm kind of pissing her off. I don't want her to be unhappy. I'll just stay at the team with the boys. And it's a backwards way of thinking.
Backwards.
It's completely backwards. He loves you so much, man. He doesn't want to. But you got to go home, and that's the part that brings you back. It's like, I love her so much, man. You know what? I want to just be standing there next to her, even if she is mad at me.
Well, what I love about Taya, about your description of it, and it's really profound because you're spot on in relating what every other guest has come on to say, and that's, our fortitude, our intestinal fortitude, our drive towards one another is a derivative of the pain we experience with one another. Yes, the moments of elation and those glorious times of binge Netflix watching and all those quiet moments are exceptional. But you're right, it's those hard times that when you come through the other end, man, you really see things in a new light. And it's like what you'd said before, if I only knew what I knew now back then.
And tell you what you said, I mean, that once you get out, that goes away. I mean, it took Chris a year. It took me a little bit longer. Everyone's is different, right? The problem they had is they got thrown into the celebrity world. That's another chaos kind of deal. And then she went from doing it to straight into that, and then she had to continue on. So that's the strength they had with. Imagine if Chris was still around, y'all, what would be going down? That kind of deal.
Well, that's a good.
She shouldered that with the kids. And the fact, I think that's important that, man, the wives that hold on and it seems impossible. And another thing that a woman can do to the man, like a teammate's like, suck it up. Melanie pulls my card all the time.
I love it.
The childbirth thing is a qual we don't have. We can't have. And I'm watching that 19 hours is straight, and she's like, I know you went through Hell Week. Check this out. That kind of deal. And the best part about it is, and I heard some general talk about, someone was asking them, like, why do you guys go in for pain all the time? And it's the same premise behind a woman in childbirth. We talked about that, right? They'll go through, I'm never doing this again. I hate you. Then, what is it, months? They're like, hey, you ready to go again?
Yeah.
Are you?
Yeah.
Because I'm still affected by watching that go down. So, I mean, the power from both sides is intense, man.
It is. It's transformational. Well, Taya, one of the questions I want to ask you now is, you guys did go through that radical transition, made it through, and then, of course, the tragic and untimely passing of Chris, and as now you were catapulted into this new life that evolved out of that tragedy, and that pain really was, when you take a step back from an objective bystander, like I've been, watching you because I just recently met you, to see, you take this and really turn it into something that's glorious. How difficult was that to find the light and the magnitude of that darkness? And what was the thing that got you through and allowed you to create all these amazing things that you're doing right now? What was it?
Yeah, I sometimes I wonder about that too. And I remember the time when, when Chris first died, and I know in the moment I found out, I had seen widows who went before me, and I remember leaving their funerals and thinking, like, their world is done as they know it, and my heart would break for them. And, I always kind of put it in simple terms and say, I still had to go to the store because I still had to feed my kids. And I was very aware that the sun kept coming up and the world kept turning, knowing that woman right there didn't want it to turn anymore, that she just wanted it to freaking stop. And I feel like, at the time I could have said, God, why are all these people dying, and save me from the pain of watching them, which would have been very selfish. But you know what I'm saying? It's hard, and you look at it, and I look back and I think, no, those are every painful experience you have if you look at it, can prepare you for something else, some strength, I can see God in everything now, and my eyes are so open to it, from even seeing like, wow, we're told to do something or not do something, and I can see the ramifications of it on a person's soul and how tempting sin is and all this stuff. And it's really opened my eyes, to God. But what got me through is from the moment I found out, it's like I had this speed roll in my head of like, the world's going to keep turning, and what do I do? And my answer was, run, stay busy, do not let this pain consume you. And I'm not saying that's the way to do it, because I know that, it's prolonged it still, and I still, cry a lot, and I still know that I have some work to do. I'll still stop myself from crying when I feel like it, and other times I'll let myself cry because I know I'm not gonna be fully healthy, if I don't kind of let that out. But at the time I was running, and I thought, you can take his body, but you cannot take his spirit. He was working on things that were good. He had the Patriot Tour with Marcus and Mel that he was, passionate about, and it means the world to me that they included me and let me take his place and carry that spirit on.
Awesome.
On that tour. But it was American Gun. The publisher let me continue that on and get that published and represent him. And then we had the fight with, what was his company. He was already in the mix of some, there were some problems, and he was getting ready for that fight. And so I took that on and fought that. And then we had other things. So I think sometimes I looked at that and people would say like it's too much. Like, it's not fair. It's not right that she has all this on her shoulders. And I sometimes wonder if it's not just, if it wasn't a gift and God said, trust me, I know this girl better than you do. And if I don't have, if she doesn't have something to do right now, she's going to go down and she's not going to get back up. Like, she needs to fight on something. And so I'm blessing her. And here's the other deal I realized with that is that I used to want to plan and be, organized and kind of control all the different elements that I could to make it be, the best outcome possible. And I think the other blessing in this is God overwhelmed me so much. There was no way, even with wonderful people around me and help, there was no way I could pay attention to every detail and manage all the things that were coming at me. And so one of the things that happened is I humbled myself and I went to prayer and I said, God, I can't do it. I don't know how you're going to, I need help, man. This is
awesome.
And I learned through that the things I couldn't handle were that you're not supposed to. If you physically are stressing and worrying and going, I don't know how to do this, I can promise you, God is telling you, don't. You're not supposed to worry. You're supposed to not be anxious. Right. Let it go. I got this for a while. Trust me. And
Amen.
So because I was overwhelmed and because I couldn't do it, I would see that months later, oh my gosh, this piece fell into place, that piece fell into place. I didn't do anything. God did it. And you know what? Now I'm better prepared to fight that fight. And so I feel like, it was a lot of things that kept me going, but it was friends that said, when I said, I'm afraid to really let myself cry. I'm afraid to go in the ditch. And I remember my friends who said, man, go in the ditch. We're not going to let you stay there. We'll get you out. But sometimes, and I think, man, that's a powerful, that's a testament to what friendship can do for you too, is to have people that say, I'm not going to let you stay there. Nobody's going to enable me in my life to just give up. Nobody. I don't have people like that around me. But they will say, hey, if today is the day where you got to crawl in bed and cover, put the covers over your head, I'll pick up the slack. I mean, I won't expect you to get up on it tomorrow, but, today, if you got to cover yourself, do it. And so I think all of those things and my kids, I mean, if, they were young enough and, I mean, they need me. And, it comes back to love. If you love somebody, you're not going to quit on them either. And they needed me to get out of bed.
Well, I mean, look, it took, we don't know who did this, but on the Platoon Space, and that when we ripped Chris and them out of there, it said, if not me, then who? Mm-hmm. And I was just thinking about that while you were talking, and he came back, and it might have been one of them deals where the world needed to see you in the public eye, and it took that to catapult you to get you out there. Because I remember the funeral. No, I don't. That's a lie. I don't remember anything about that. So Melanie,
things happen for a reason.
So once we got up there and Melanie saw Taya, then I went off the grid.
Yeah.
It seemed like every dude who showed up with a wife or a widow, once the wife took control, then I don't remember.
We did our own. We did our own.
I don't remember
did your own things.
Yeah, exactly. We did what we do when
we do what we do at the.
So I mean, and it's turned into a thing where you've had to shoulder all of that, and even in the world you live in now, I mean, it's your pain that's other people's positive motivation. That struggle that you push yourself through, man, and it was that time when Chris Kid and you were sitting in there and we showed up, man, and to let you know that now it's time, right? That's kind of the way you look at it. It's like, okay, now it's time for me to do my thing.
And that's what I love about this, Tay, is that your time is now. It's here. It's coming. You've gone
even,
through,
yeah, you just start.
You know, you're just starting now because the strength has finally filled you.
It took all those years,
all that hardship, all that pain.
To that point.
And now she's got
Right.
the weight.
Now you
She's got the
launch it.
weight. And so tell everybody what it is that you're doing now. What is your mission in life now?
Yeah, I'm going to do that. And I want to just add this one thing, and that's, it's interesting that when, you know, Marcus, when you talk about that first week, and two things come to mind is I remember the minute I found out that Chris was really gone, and I told myself, I will not worry. I will go to the hospital. He's fine. I will not accept that he's dead until I hear those words. I had too many times before where he could have been or he might have been, and he wasn't. But my girlfriend that was there with me, you know, and the police officers told me, she said, and I didn't know this at the time, it was years later that she told me, she said, I watched your face and tears were pouring down you, but something changed in your eyes, and it looked like you listened, you heard it, and something in your eyes said, it's go time, right?
Wow.
And I thought, you know, when she said that, I think there was a part of me that's just self-protection, right, that says, this is going to hurt like I've never hurt before, and I got to, like, it's time to, like, get busy and take care of stuff. But there's also this knowledge that other people have been through it, and they've survived, and, like, oh my God, girl, get ready. Like, it's about to get rough, you know, but you're not, but stand strong kind of thing.
Yep.
And the other thing that I thought of when you talked about that week is when Melanie was such a calm presence in this wild storm and this pain that everybody felt, and there were, you know, whatever it was, hundreds of people at the house and all that. And I thought about that because I feel like it's important maybe for somebody else out there to hear this, that when things are going down and it's really bad, for somebody else to come in like Melanie did and have a calm about her and say, like, I remember just looking at her like, this is the strength I need, because I can tell that she's capable of shouldering whatever it is, whatever request I had. I knew that there was probably, you know, a storm that she would have to go through to get it done or whatever, but she looked at me with calm and she made me feel like it's like, that's fine. Whatever, you know, you need to happen is going to happen. And I try to do that. I had a guy call me, 2 nights ago, and he's military and he was suicidal. And I remember just feeling like this is important for me to let him know, like, it's not like I'm calm. You're okay. This is going to be okay. You know, whatever he did, I was like, look, this is not that bad, and we're going to get through this, and the sun is going to come out tomorrow. And every morning it's going to come. All you got to do is make it through tonight until the sun comes up again tomorrow. Amen. You know, and right, and that's that whole you know, one day at a time mentality. But I do know the dark nights are sometimes the worst, and you know, I think sometimes we just have to pay attention and go, look, a sunset is a victory. Because when you're in the deepest, darkest pain, it's a victory, man. You made it through, and now you just wait till the sun comes up, and it will, and your pain will get lessened. And it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist somewhere and it doesn't live on, but it's not always going to be so raw. You just got to make it till the sun comes up again and kind of wait it out and see what God's going to do. But you know what, Dave, I think I forgot your original question.
I love that concept. And I think that's one of the greatest descriptions we've had for the never quit mindset, because people are constantly searching, and Marcus and I talk about it all the time. It's not just within your mental capacity, it's also within your physical self. It's within your spiritual self. And, the fact we talk about God, and I talk about faith extensively in the work I do with vets and the things that I do. And it really is a compilation of that. But if you can really, allow the infinite of God's presence and that light of that new dawn to shower you with strength, you can get back in the fight. And it's that I think what I'm hearing is the fight isn't always you in the knockout, right? It's making that tremendous swing.
Sometimes you don't even want to be in it.
Right. You don't even want to be in it, right? You don't even want to be there, and you're taking the beating, but at least in the beating, you're taking the fight and you're cognizant of it. And if you just stay in it, you just don't quit, eventually you'll see the glory of that new light.
You gotta know about somebody who spent their whole life taking beatings and being in the hard place, that when they come to the table, they're bringing a lot. And that's and so the question was, Taya, now that you've done the rounds, you've put the time in, you've walked the mile, I call it, right? Tell us what you're doing now and what your mission is in life every day when you wake up and you put those feet on the deck. And,
tell us where your focus is now and what are you hoping to accomplish in this next phase now that you have this wonderful strength about you?
Yeah, so that's, it's a good question. And I think part of what I understand is that I used to want to make plans. I used to want to have all these goals, and I still do. I still do have things floating around in my head that I think, I wonder if I'm going to, make the time or have the time to get this going or whatever. But my bigger thing is that old saying, what does God laugh at? Our plans. And, and I think that's something I've learned is that I can't get so caught up in it. I think you have to have, goals and you have to have thoughts of what you're going to do. But what I'm trying to do now is just pray like, God, what is it today that, use me. I want God to use me for his glory. I want to humble myself and never, ever think that it's about me, but always remember it's about, it's about somebody else and doing something else. But I do also want to be the best version of me. And I do want to explore different sides of my personality. And I have a lot of different interests. And so I want to honor that too and make time for that. And I think that's something I haven't done my whole life. I've always thought about what I need to do, what's practical, what's important. And I'll always be that, but I'm really trying hard to say, there's another part to you, Taya. It's okay for you to say something, else is you're going to do it just because you enjoy it. And then that maybe will make me more productive in other areas instead of feeling like everything's just a beating and I have to do it. But my mission with my life and what's happened to me, one of the things that is always probably going to be the most important to me is helping other people stay married and to see it through, because I know the beauty of staying in it. I know the beauty of getting to the other side of that, that deep ditch and crossing that bridge and getting to the other side. So the Chris Kyle Frog Foundation, that's where my passion is, to help other people stay married. And I've been so inspired by that, because that's another way where I thought there's no way we can do enough for these people. What more can we do? And what I've found is that we just show up. We just do what we can do at the time. We've only been around for a year and a half, and we've been able to say, okay, well, let's try to do a date night event here. Let's try to send these couples on a trip. And I think, well, is that enough just to get them away for the weekend or whatever? And what I'm finding is that we show up and God does the rest. We'll keep trying. Cool. We're going to keep trying to improve, right? But that sometimes you just know the right thing to do. You show up, and for me, we pray about it and hope that we're doing the right thing. So marriages, and it's not just with the foundation. It's personally, it's those friends that call me. It's the people that need to hear it. The people that can, that need to remember to stay in the fight. That's my passion, to try to help them stay married. And more than that, I think, is my passion to keep being humble and look to God to say, what can I do to be better? Like, make me better. I have this craving, and I think you guys know this too. When you've been tested in the teams, when you've been tested in combat, when you've been tested with life, throwing you curveballs, like we talked about, Marcus, you get more curveballs than anybody, I've ever met. And there comes a time where you say, okay, I'm strong enough. Like, all right, so I'm going to get stronger. I mean, it's not to say you don't, rage against, the will and life and all these things, but there's a time where you accept it and you get stronger for it. And I'm open to that. It's like now I get a hit, and I still get them sometimes where I think, you've got to be kidding me. But the more hits I take, the more I get a different perspective on life. It's just frankly better. It's just little things that don't bother you the same way. I think my parenting is better because I don't want to enable my kids. I want them to know that, okay, life's going to hit you. You're fine. You're strong. Get back up. Stop. I don't have the desire to, no, let me rephrase that. The truth is, I never want my kids to be unhappy.
Right.
And I fight that mothering part of me that just wants to nurture and not be, tell them to suck it up.
Discipline.
But I know the other side of it is, they have to suck it up. And so I think, being to boil it down, I do want to keep finding more ways to challenge myself and keep my eyes open to what God does in people's lives and in my life. I want to be the best mom I can be, the best friend I can be, and for work, it's the Chris Kyle Frog Foundation that has my heart, my passion. But the interesting parts, or the parts that I find interesting that I want to explore with children's book, and they're faith-based. And I finished my first one this summer, and I want to knock out a couple more and try to see if I can get a set published. And then I've got a fiction that I want to do, and then we have some stuff with American Life. We're working on a mini series, and I've always kind of been interested in the behind the scenes stuff with that, and the creative element to to TV, and there's a part of me that says, God, I don't even want to say that out loud because I don't want to be misunderstood as somebody who thinks it's about fame or Hollywood, but it's
I
a
think
team effort to make something awesome.
I think that's what Hollywood needs more of, is a dose of
anybody,
reality.
Anybody in Hollywood on TV, that's the part that gets just going to do this for that. I'm like, well, why does anybody go there?
Yeah.
It's to do something. What's she not? Don't ever think that, Taya.
Yeah, and what a wonderful concept for a show to bring.
If we'd have showed up
your
there,
type of
if Mel
story.
would have showed up and you'd been like, "You got this. I got a TV thing," then but don't ever think that. You getting on Fox News and being a contributor and saying because the blessing is that what you and I do, we're out in the public with them, and all demographics, both sides, Democrat, Republican, Independent, black, white, red, bikers, billionaires, you name it. So when you get up and you say something,
backs it up,
right?
Relevance
you've seen it with
to it.
Exactly. You
She's
didn't read
been
it.
there.
You didn't read it from somebody else and
No.
make it your own. This is all you. This is your story and your life. Man, run it till she breaks.
That's what I love so much about you, Taya, is that you do bring it from the heart, and you bring it from your faith, and you bring it from God, and you bestow these amazing things on people on a regular basis, and you have the humility, that humble. You know what I mean? And
Look
we
what Chris
talk about
did.
it all
Chris
the time.
excelled
Right?
in a community that doesn't happen at. If someone's got a reputation in our community, that's a big deal.
In particular, him
Right.
and what he was able to do.
And you're his white. Exactly. That's
you
my
know
point.
what I mean? And what he was able to do, and to see it transcend into you, and for you to take it and teach those very lessons. I think it's.
Yeah. I don't think our wives aren't team guys.
Oh.
You can hear it in the way their verbiage. Melanie says sit, rep, check, and all that stuff all the time. And that's why when they get mad, you got to worry about them because, man, they probably learned how to really take it to him.
Well, I'll tell you what, the shooting competition last year, so that's what I love.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And then, so carrying on that, y'all were already in that life.
Yeah.
You were on TV. You were in the books, in the movie. That was in the works anyways. That was your life. You're just people
God's
expect you
path
to
for you.
roll some pills down your throat, maybe get on the bottle a little bit, and have some kids. One turn out all right, one doesn't, whatever.
Negative.
Yeah, exactly. Come on, man. Anybody who says crap like that needs to get on, listen to the podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, Taya, thank you so much for just your time and your commentary and your genuineness, really the authenticity, man. It's so rewarding to have somebody come on that's been through what you've been through. You've taken the hits, like you say, but yet you're still inspired to take these lessons learned and to move forward in life and disseminate what your thoughts and your faith in really positive ways. So I just want to not only say thanks for doing that, but also thanks for representing our community in just a really amazing way.
Well, thank you. I feel like that means a lot coming from you guys because you're fighting the good fight. I love your show. You're inspiring lots of people, and you're showing that there's this airbrushed version of people, and I think that's a dangerous place to be in, where we try to make everybody look either perfect or where reality TV isn't really reality or all that stuff. And what you're doing is showing real people, real grit, real determination, and that everybody has an ability to not quit. And I think you're inspiring people to be like, you know what, these people are seen as something amazing, but they're just like me and they've lived the same, or some version of it, their crappy life. Their life has been crap at one point and they've not quit. And I hope you know the value of what you're doing, bringing that to people to remind them that we're all just people trying to make it, and they don't have to quit either.
I love it. That's exactly right. Well, thank you so much. And, we look forward to having you in the After Actions Report.
Yeah,
all right.
thanks, Dave.
God bless you.
Thanks. God bless you too.
Wow.
It's going to be like that roller coaster up and down.
I didn't know.
When we were talking at the beginning, she's like, because everybody who I shouldn't say it like that. I thought I knew what story she was going to tell. We all talked about it. I knew she would tell the moment that Chris was taken from us. But that wasn't it at all, man. when we got on, I was like, all right. And then as soon as she started talking, I just sat back in my chair. I was like, here we go, man. She's going to take us on a roller coaster.
Holy cow, man.
That's good.
They talk about a woman that has been through it.
Yeah.
Through it.
I remember you saying something in the beginning about the first responders' wives, and everybody listened to that one.
Yeah. I think it's powerful for them.
Yeah, exactly. She must have been listening.
I guess, man. But you know what was remarkable for me is, she has this wonderful support network and the influence that her parents, impacted her with and that dedication. But, what really transformed it and I think brought it to a whole new level was just that strong, loving commitment to Chris. Right?
Marriage.
Marriage. Right. The bond of marriage.
Even after Chris is gone, that's the sanctity of marriage and how important that is for kept referencing the kids and her parents are still together and stuff like that. And then just kind of sucking that part up, looking past everything and to see it as a team.
Oh, it's unbelievable. I mean, it's remarkable when you think about it, right? I mean, it's really powerful. And that's why she does the Chris Kyle Frog Foundation. And it's just
that's literally when you hear somebody talk like, man, you should probably write a book.
Right. And she did. And thank God, American Wife. And if you haven't picked up a copy of American Wife, please go out and get that. I'm telling you.
I'm going to start reference our guests like that. You know what? If you don't have a book, you should get one. I mean, we just heard one story. I think from her perspective, different stories from her point of view. So one story technically on the show.
Man,
just sat down there and started elaborating on those. There you go, on each individual one of those.
Oh, and she could drill down.
Right, and all of our guests are great like that, man. Just those crazy stories that you're like, man.
And that's what I hope you're hearing. I hope as an audience member, you're hearing, you're being inspired. Because that's what we are, right, Marcus? We're the spark.
Right.
We're the fire that lights off in your gut, that gets you out of your chair to start going to create your story. And that can happen right now. You could be the next Taya Kyle. You could be the next Mark.
We found ours.
Absolutely.
Reference that spark hole. And everybody we bring on here, they recognize it too. And what burns them. And then what we're doing is telling you how to ignite that, or giving you, not telling you how, but giving you different examples how to ignite that spark inside of you, right?
Because we're all unique, but there's a common bond that pain unites us in.
It's there, right?
And that gives us that propels us out there. Well, one thing I want to do is I want to read another real quick never quit story that came in, if I could, Marcus, before we sign off here. All right, and this one, it's a powerful story, and I want to thank Preston for writing this into us. And here it goes. I'll read it quick for you. Gentlemen, I want to tell you a little bit about my wife, Jody. Jody was in government service. She worked for the Air Force at Randolph Air Force Base and worked at Randolph for over 20 years, where she worked as a contracting technician and studied at night and all while raising 2 young boys on her own. Flash forward 20 years, she was a GS-12 contracting officer in foreign military sales with a $50 million warrant. She and I were married in 2005, and in 2007, she was diagnosed with breast cancer. She fought it something fierce, multiple surgeries, chemotherapy, and radiation. My wife died in November of 2011. I'm not exactly sure why I wanted to tell you all this over. Then I wanted you to know that through it all, she never quit. Her body, after all the surgeries and treatment, looked like a battleground, but she never quit. I got 6 years with her, and I'm lucky to have known her at all. Every day I get up, I get after it, to honor her. The strategies I use to focus, I learned from a gunnery sergeant at the Marine Military Academy in Harlingen, Texas. He taught me how to have goals and passion, envision the plan, empower your clan. You must not isolate, you must have a clan, and let it rip. Gunny told me, right or wrong, make a move. And so there it is. Her name was Jody, and she inspires and motivates me every day. She truly never quit. I'm attaching her official government portrait just so you can put a face to name. Thank you for letting me share this story, and thank you for all your clan does.
It's crazy. It doesn't matter what that energy is wrapped in, the box it comes in, right?
It doesn't.
Yeah,
truly doesn't.
Battle ridden. That's the difference between those people that are successful and that, I mean, when they show up, they slide in there sideways. Like, hey, I gave it all. I gave it all I got,
gave
man.
it all I got.
I mean, hell.
I gave it all I got.
Throw what you got at me. I'll take it till I can't. And then that's how you prove yourself. Just keep everything they throw at you, just take it.
Just keep taking it. And
keep
that's
going forward.
That's what Taya taught us. That's what we're trying to help you with every guest. If you want to know more about Taya, just go ahead and visit her website at tayakyle.com. Check out the Chris Kyle Frog Foundation. She's soon to be a Fox News contributor. She does amazing things all over. You can hire her as a Team Never Quit speaker if you want. She's really an amazing person who teaches us to keep taking the hits, to have faith in God, to believe in love, and to believe in yourself, man. So I just, on that note, I just want to say, as we always end, I want to thank God for the opportunity that I have right now to be right where I'm at. I want to thank you, Marcus. I love being on here with you, brother. I love what you help me do in this world and my purpose. I want to thank all my teammates. I want to thank Taya for inspiring me today. And I want to thank my family, my wife, my 2 beautiful children, and all my relatives. And it just, man, I feel very blessed. And I'm ready to take the hits because I love these people that make me better. So thank you.
Yeah, me too, brother. That was thank you, Taya. It's always good hearing her, man. You get fired. I got, the week I've been having.
Oh man,
right?
Heavy,
right? So she might have been the perfect one to have on here to pick up my head, and keep charging forward. But thanks to the good Lord up top for giving me all my skills, my friends helped me find them, the boss lady for marrying me. Good Lord, I love you, woman. And man, thank y'all for listening and giving us the opportunity to live these lives. Service for first 40 years for me, brother. I look forward to giving it back for another 40. So
Amen.
Thank y'all for that. Amen. I'm out.
We're out.
Never quit. Team Never Quit. Team Never Quit Radio.